if you go out shopping this week, if you go to Target, if you go to Walmart, if you go to places like Five Below, you can get My First Tarot card readings. You can get crystals that you can wear around your neck because they bring you good vibes and good energies and things. People are hungry for the spiritual. There are trends that aren't backing the claim that most people make. Okay? And so let's talk about it. When you look around at what's going on in society as a whole in the US, it's detrimental. You got red versus blue, black versus white, up versus down, truth versus falsehoods, all these different things. And I've often heard people say it's because we live in a post-Christian culture. But a man that we met from way far off in Portland, Oregon, he told us that we don't live in a post-Christian nation. We live in a post-secular nation. So if you go out shopping this week, if you go to Target, if you go to Walmart, if you go to places like Five Below, you can get My First Tarot card readings. You can get crystals that you can wear around your neck because they bring you good vibes and good energies and things. People are hungry for the spiritual. And the stats back me up on this. Let's look at some stats. These are all from Barna. So this says, if you can't read it, it says a vast majority of U.S. adults report that they would like to grow spiritually. Sometimes it's easy to assume that people who aren't actively engaged with a local church simply aren't interested in spiritual things. But the data tells a different story. A vast majority of U.S. adults report that they would like to grow spiritually, and this trend towards spiritual openness represents an exciting opportunity for churches. What might your church do to make the most of it? 72% of boomers, 77% of Gen X, 77% of millennials, and 73% of Gen Z are hungry for the spiritual. If they are going to eat at someone's table, make it yours. Let's look at the next one. If you were feeling lonely, how likely is it that you would visit one of the following places? According to data from Making Space for Inspiration, a new report created in partnership with Aspen Group, that U.S. adults are more likely to seek out other places when lonely. As seen in the graphic picture, several of these options, such as somewhere in nature, a park, or a public place, and a quiet public place, seem to lack the natural opportunities for connection that are common in churches. And so it's hard to see those numbers, but it says 43% say they would go to a family member's house if they were lonely. 42% said they would go to a friend's house if they were feeling lonely. And 49% would go somewhere in nature. So if they come into your house, you ain't going to their house, go for a walk out in nature. And strikingly, 42% said they were not likely to go to a church. Look, PT and I, we are handsome individuals, as our wives can attest. But our handsomeness is not going to bring people into the church. And so we have an awesome opportunity to go to people to bring church things to them. As our family grieves the loss of my parents, it's been really, really hard. And the hardest thing about it has been having to comfort my kiddos as I hear them cry because just their little minds can't grasp that someone's not here. And so I can't call PT at 10 o'clock at night and be like, hey, come comfort my kids. That's our job. We have to comfort those people who are lonely and hurting, and it's a wonderful opportunity because the world has a lot of hurt and loneliness in it. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. My experiences have led me to deconstruct or take apart the faith of my youth. More than half of Gen Z, 56%, and 47% of all adults say that their experiences have led them to deconstruct or take apart the faith of their youth. You and I are going to have hard conversations to begin to reconcile the hurt that has happened by leaders in churches and be the shining beacon of hope that is the fact that when most people deconstruct, they're not deconstructing Jesus, they're deconstructing their experience. And so what we do is that we get into their shoes, we get empathetic, we don't excuse the bad behavior, we understand the failures and we acknowledge the historical failures of the church, but understand that they don't dismantle the truth of the gospel. And the last trend that we have, if you want to get young people to church, Barna said, we asked over 13,000 teenagers to complete this sentence. I would prefer to attend a church that supports, and they listed 5 of the most popular reasons. Number 1 was ending extreme poverty. Number 2 was positive mental health. 3 was ending hunger and famines. 4 was ending sexual abuse. And 5 was promoting racial justice. Those were the top 5 responses to people who wanted to get involved in a church. And so that's awesome, because when everything seems to be going to hell, we can look and see that there's a very bright future ahead. And so the church has to work to do its best to become the headlights and not the taillights that we've been for the past however many years.